Sahil to you. Sahil is a global entrepreneur, best-selling author, and a keynote speaker, a success coach who enables ambitious business owners to scale without sacrifice. I haven't heard that term before, but that's great to hear. Scaling without sacrificing. With ventures across two continents and experience coaching leaders in over 25 countries, he brings a rare blend of business acumen and inner clarity. A trusted facilitator for EO and YPO, Sahil has guided hundreds of leaders to break through overwhelm and lead with purpose. Drawing from his mountaineering expeditions, including Kilimanjaro and Elbrus, he shares powerful lessons on resilience and peak performance. His mission: help leaders stress less, grow faster, and live a zero regret life. With that, over to you, Sahil. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Hemant, for the lovely introduction. And I've been attending some of the sessions for this program, and wow, I've learned a lot, and I'm pretty excited. I wish I could have attended more. That's the kind of feedback that I have. So, for all those who have been enjoying this, I envy all of you. Anyway, I'm going to take a slightly different take on what you've been hearing. You've all been hearing about go-to-market strategy. You've been hearing about innovation. You've heard lots of different things, fundraising, etc., etc. Now, what I want to talk about, which is a subject that many people may not think about at this stage of your career, is regret. I've interviewed, just to give you a little background, I've interviewed over 100 business leaders across the world with my co-author, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, and we've been asking all these leaders who are all successful. They run multi-million dollar businesses, they have a wonderful lifestyle, highly reputed in their industry. And we ask them, what are the challenges that you're facing today? And I want to keep this a little interactive. I see that you're a very interactive crowd. So, Hemant, is there any chance you can pull up those points that I gave you earlier?
Yes, I'll do it right away.
So while he's pulling that up, what I would like each and every one of you to do is go through these 7 points and in the chat box write down which one feels like you. And if it's more than one, you can name more. So just put in the numbers based on what you're about to see. It's just about to come on now.
Are this visible now?
Yep. Okay, so in the chat box, which one or ones represents you? All right, we got Lopti Pascal, number 5, avoidance of health, mortality, and contingency planning. Thank you. So while the others are coming in, to highlight
Yes.
what Heyman said earlier, I help successful business owners stop building a life that they will regret. And what does that mean? Who are the kind of people that I've come across? Like I said, they come to me and they go, Sahil, something doesn't feel right. I thought life would be much better when I got this successful. Is this my life for the next 20 years? I feel like I've achieved so much, but I don't feel successful. I don't feel fulfilled. And what I realized with all these people that I've been working with and the ones that I've interviewed, like myself, they all reached a point in their life where they said, wow, I I've checked all the boxes. When I started on this journey, I said having a 7-figure net worth, a certain lifestyle, which usually meant a nice home, driving a nice car, a great lifestyle, married, possibly with kids. I thought that would be it. I'd be jumping up and down with joy. And when I got to that stage at the age of 36, I just went, uh. And I'm thinking to myself, Sahil, are you being ungrateful? because you're so fortunate. You have all these things and you've followed the system. You followed the system perfectly. You worked hard, you had resilience, you had grit, you burned the midnight oil, you sacrificed your health and family to grow the business, but you got the money, you grew the business. But what I didn't realize is I had some challenges with my health. Relationships of mine were struggling. And when I say I had challenges with my health, I almost lost my life in a car accident because I pushed myself so hard that I fell asleep behind the wheel. And so, as I'm doing all this research, I started seeing patterns. I started seeing patterns that people reached external success and yet they felt unfulfilled on the inside. And my definition of all this is that is clutter in your life. And you don't do anything about it, it's just going to weigh on you and it's going to get heavier and heavier and heavier. And one day it's going to lead to regret. And rather than waiting for that day to come, based on all these are the research that we did, by the way, this over 100 people, the 7 points that you saw, those were the seven most common ones that were highlighted by these very successful entrepreneurs. And so what I'd like to share with all of you today is to is to plant some seeds in your head and make you start thinking about what success really means to you. So, as a mountaineer, we have something known as the seven summits. These are the tallest summits on each of the continents in the world. And once you've climbed all seven, it's like you've conquered the world. And that got me thinking, what if you could define your internal seven summits and then climb those metaphorical mountains in your life? And once you do that, you feel a lot more fulfilled. Because if you just focus on what most of us focus on, including the previous version of me, was I focused on, and this is what the system told me, focus on fortune and fame. Focus on generating wealth and becoming well established in your industry. And like I said, I followed this system to the T, to the point where by the age of 36, I checked all the boxes of what I thought was my definition of success, the one that I inherited. I inherited from society, from family, from media, from the educational system, from social media, etc. But like me and all these other entrepreneurs that I interviewed, what I realized was even though we followed it to the T, it wasn't our definition of success. And so what I'm going to share with all of you right now is the starting point to figure out what success means to you. And then by the end of this session, I'm going to give you a website link where it's the success audit where you'll be able to fill it out in your own time and start that journey in even more depth. But let me give you the background. So like I said, let's discover what our seven most important summits are for ourselves. Because if I asked everyone, give me three things that are most important, most people will say health, wealth, and relationships. That's too easy. Why seven? It makes you think deeper. Now, with seven, I discovered for myself, just to give you an example, apart from the three that I've already mentioned, personal growth was something that was very important for me. So that was the fourth one. Fifth was fun and recreation. I realized I really like to enjoy myself. And if I'm not having fun, it doesn't make sense for me. My sixth was spirituality. And seventh was community service. So these were the seven most important things in my life: health, wealth, relationships, and wealth, by the way, includes career, relationships, spirituality, community service, fun and recreation, and personal growth. So now, every time I had to make a decision, because that was one of the things I was struggling with, no matter what decision I made, I just wasn't always feeling good because it made sense for the company, it made sense to build more money, but it didn't always gel with me internally. It felt off inside. And so now when I look at my seven summits and I have to make a decision, I ask myself, what is the net effect on the seven most important areas of my life? Because when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. When I said yes to client dinners on a frequent basis, I was saying no to dinner with my family. Now, I'm not suggesting never have a client dinner, but just make sure that when you say yes to something, what is on the opposite end, and are you okay with that? So now that I've defined the seven summits, I could easily check in and go, wow, if I make this decision, how does it affect all these different areas? And what I found is it gave me a lot more clarity because now I was making decisions that were more resonant by my definition of success rather than what was inherited or what was expected of me. Now, folks, everything that I'm sharing, which my co-author and mentor Marshall Goldsmith always shares, is tells me is everything I share is easy to understand. However, it requires courage, discipline, and humility to face it, head on. Because ultimately, you sleep with yourself every night, and it's the man in the mirror that you have to face on a daily basis. So I understand some of these decisions or thoughts might not gel with other members of the family, might not gel with other members of the community or the people in your friend circle, social circle. But ultimately, you are living your life. And when you are on your deathbed at the age of 80, 90, 100, 110, whatever that age is, the last thing you want to do is look back with regret because you didn't do what was important for yourself. So again, you define the seven most important areas of your life. Now, granted, some of them are maybe more important than others. So imagine there's seven balls and you're juggling them, right? That's how the day usually looks like. Now, some of these balls are made of rubber and some of them are made of crystal. And what happens when you drop a crystal ball? It shatters. And what happens when you drop a rubber ball? It bounces back. And so when you define these seven, make sure you know which ones are crystal balls and which ones are rubber. Because too often I've seen these amazing entrepreneurs sacrificing the crystal balls for the ones that are rubber. Because they always tell me, Sahil, I just need to open this new office and then I'll focus, for example, on my health. I just need to get to this level in my company, then I'll start focusing on my relationships. The only problem was with these amazing leaders that I worked with, it was one sacrifice after another after another. After which I told them, because as their guide, I have to put the mirror in front of them and tell them, it's no longer a sacrifice. This is a choice that you're making. And just make sure that you're fine with this choice. Otherwise, change these priorities because your actions don't match your priorities. So now you have your seven summits, you have your seven, you've defined which ones are rubber balls and crystal balls. So now every time you have to make a decision, you can ask yourself, am I going net up the mountain range or am I going down? Because, like I said, every time you say yes, you're saying no to something else. So now you have a more clarity, which makes decision making oh so much easier. Now, of course, there might be moments where something needs your attention. It's like when a family member gets injured, they might need your attention and you have to stop everything else. The same way your business may need attention when you stop everything else. But make sure it is critical and it's not just something you're making up in your head that, oh, I have to make this sacrifice. Just this one hump, when I get over this peak, it's going to be fine. But then it's the next peak and then the one after that and the one after that. So clarity. Now, let me take you to the next phase. The next phase is as you're climbing up these mountains, you're carrying this weight on your shoulders, right? You're carrying things in your backpack. You can't climb a mountain without anything in your backpack. You need your tent, you need your food, you need your equipment, etc. But if you want to climb fast, you have to assess what is in that backpack because there's a lot of stuff you're carrying that you're not letting go of. These might be belief systems of yours. They might be behavioral traits that you're just not aware of that are getting in the way. I'll give you an example. One of the behavioral traits that came up very often in the research that we did was I'm available all the time. But what does that mean? Does it mean you're present when you're away from work and with your family or friends? Does it mean you're getting enough time to do some of the other things that are important for you? Perhaps you're sacrificing sleep for this. Perhaps you're sacrificing your health, your family, your personal growth, whatever it is. But you have to be clear whether this is something that's serving you or not. Because I always thought to myself, I have all this stuff to do. I'm not even able to finish the day and complete my to-do list. It just keeps growing. I thought it'll get shorter and shorter, but it just keeps growing. And next thing I know, it's so long that it's causing me headache and anxiety. But folks, the one thing you have to remember, and this is why I keep health as my number one priority, is when my cup is full, I have plenty to serve everyone around me. And I can be a better boss, a better father, a better husband, a better son, a better whatever label that I play in life. But if my cup is empty because I'm just pushing myself too hard, I don't really have anything to share with others. And am I going to be as effective as a leader? So, what is the clutter that you're carrying in your backpack? It could be behavioral traits, it could be belief systems, it could be mindset, it could be things that you've had to have discussions about, but you keep pushing it away because you're saying, "Oh, maybe time will heal, or maybe I can just slip it under the rug and no one will notice." But the reality is, you have to face it one day. And the sooner you face it, the sooner you can get rid of this weight that's holding you down, that's slowing you down from reaching your peaks. So, what is that clutter that you're holding onto in your backpack? Whether it's mental, physical, emotional, or relationship driven. Once you've started to highlight and understand the clutter that you're carrying, the second thing I would ask you to understand is it's not just the clutter that's weighing you down, but everything you keep in your backpack, you have to ask yourself, does it give me enough benefit? This was taught to me by an army captain, and he said, Sal, there's lots of things people may carry in their backpack that's beneficial, but is it enough benefit to keep that weight on their shoulders so that that's going to help them as they scale their mountains of success? Because I have this, for example, I've got a bottle of water. Maybe for the climb, this much is enough, but perhaps I carry a second one. Now, it's useful to have in case I run out in the first one, but does it give me enough benefit to carry that extra 1 kilo? Because over a long period of time, for anyone who's trekked or carried weight for extended periods of time, that 1 kilo starts to get very heavy and starts to slow you down. Or I can say, let me get a bottle with the life straw, and for all those who don't know, I can literally put that in a stream of water, and it filters the water out, so I'm drinking clean water. That way I can still replenish, make sure I pick a path where the streams are involved, and I'm only carrying one bottle instead of more, hence reducing the weight. So it's not just the clutter that's weighing you down, but maybe you're carrying things that are beneficial, however, they don't give you enough benefit to scale the summits you need to. Now, let me give you an idea of how you can identify some of this clutter because you might be wondering, well, I don't know, there's things that you know that's obvious, and I'm not going to state those because you already know what they are. But let me give you a simple tool that you can implement to discover what clutter you might be holding on to. And it only takes 2 minutes of your day. Every night, keep a keep a pad of paper or a notebook or something, preferably not your phone because I don't want you on your devices, something like this, a little notepad or a little notebook, and write down the answer to the following question. What drained my energy levels today? And day after day, just keep a note of that. At the end of a week or perhaps 2 weeks, start to see what patterns start to emerge. What are things that happen on a frequent basis that drain my energy levels? Because that's clutter. That's something now that you can address because clearly it's happening repeatedly in your life that's sucking energy out of you, which is affecting all the other wonderful things that you're doing that need your attention and drive. But we don't want to end on a low, so I'll ask a second question. What elevated your energy levels today? And write that down. Because again, at the end of the week or 2 weeks, when you're doing the assessment, you can ask yourself, how can I do more of these things? Because they energize me and I feel so good about myself. Because when you're a better version of yourself, you're going to get so much more done. You're such a happier person. You're a better boss, a better friend, a better whatever label it is. So, how can you be more of that? So, start thinking about the backpack that you're carrying, your metaphorical backpack, as you climb your metaphorical mountains that are your definition of success, and really question the things that you're carrying with yourself. Another exercise you can do is once you've decided on your 7 summits and which ones are important for you, look at your calendar and ask yourself the time that I'm awake, is it in line with how I've defined what success is means to me in order based on the order of priority? And if it doesn't, start asking yourself, how can you shift so that you take steps towards the things that truly matter in your life? So you move towards fulfillment and move away from regret. Now, I have a lot of leaders, especially the younger ones, like many of you might be. They come to me and go, Sal, this all sounds good, but can I still be successful after I've made all these changes? Because it sounds like all these things are going to eat into my time and I'm not going to spend as many hours working. How will the business function without me? And I had the same thoughts as you might be having right now. But let me share you a little bit about myself. I told you at the age of 36, I was struggling with some health issues, struggling with some relationships. And no matter how hard I tried, it just wasn't enough. So I kept running faster. Today, my health is wow. I mean, it's just, I'm so happy with the steps that I took because I feel great. The markers are all great as I do my annual health checks. The relationships that I was struggling with, two very important ones in my life, which included my wife and my father, they became much, much, much better. And today, I mean, my father is no more, unfortunately, but my wife and I, we're like a rock right now. I look at the hours I work in the office. I'm working maybe at least a third hours less, if not more, or maybe even half the hours I was working before. And the last 4 years have been amongst the best we've ever had. So, folks, all I can tell you is it is possible. It is possible to live a life that's more fulfilling and have external success. So, you're having both internal and external success. And I've seen that with the clients I work with again and again and again. So, just to recap, the first part we spoke about identifying the 7 summits, which is your definition of success, and prioritizing them, making sure you know which ones are crystal balls and rubber balls. The second step, we talked about what's in the backpack. What is the clutter? You already know some of the clutter because you've been avoiding it. Start facing it. Forget the tools you need to overcome them. And then and I shared a tool as well with you, which you can identify things you may not know. And I also talked about check your backpack. Are you even the stuff that's useful? Is it useful enough that it deserves to be in the backpack? Because the lighter you are, the faster you can scale your summits of success. And the third and final step that I would like to talk about is momentum. How do you ensure that you take a step forward every day? A lot of people tell me, oh, it sounds like a big step, it's a big leap. I don't know if I can do it. It sounds hard. Break it down and keep breaking it down until you get to a size where it's bite size, where you go, huh, I can do that. It's like when I wrote my book. I've never written a book. I got a C in English in school. I'm thinking, I'm not a writer, I'm not an author. How am I going to do this? But I realized if I thought about the book, it was too much. So I said, okay, let me focus on a chapter. When I thought about a chapter, it was too much. I said, let me think about a paragraph. Huh, a paragraph, I can write that. And I did that day after day after day after day. And slowly all the paragraphs became chapters and became an entire book. So I ask each and every one of you, how do you break it down into bite size so that you take one step forward every day? Since you know your 7 summits, that's all you have to do. Towards any of these 7 summits, what is one step forward you can take today? And you just repeat that day after day after day. Because what I realized on the mountains, when I'm at high altitude, 6,000 meters above sea level, oxygen is less, it's cold. I haven't slept that well because we're sleeping in tents on cold floors. I'm not able to eat as well because of I have my stomach just goes for a toss at high altitude. It's harder to breathe. And the summit on summit day is like a 10-hour climb. It's too far for me. My body's just struggling. And all I tell myself in my head, I say, Sile, just put your right foot in front of your left foot. And once I've done that, I say, put your left foot in front of your right foot. And I just keep doing that, repeat, repeat, repeat. And as long as Mother Nature allows it, we eventually make it there to the summit. So it's all about that one step you can take every single day towards your definition of success. So, with that, folks, I want to open this up for questioning. And I'm also going to put in the chat box a link which you can all go to do a success audit and see where you are right now. Don't do it now. It'll probably take you about 10 minutes, but anytime after this session, you can take a jab at it. So with that, folks, I would love to open it up to the floor. Would love any questions, whatever you agree with, whatever you disagree with. The floor is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sahil, for that talk and for opening eyes on a conversation or a subject matter, which is, I think, one of the most ignored in terms of startup founders and their race towards trying to build something. The first thing they ignore is themselves. So, thank you for highlighting and putting a spotlight right onto that subject. People who are in the Zoom room, the link to your success audit is in the chat, which is www.sahilmehta.com/success-audit. And I'm verbalizing it for the benefit of those who are not on Zoom and watching the entire event from our web conference platform, Virtrio. So, Sahil, just again for you, we have an entire audience out there on the Virtrio platform enjoying a virtual expo like experience with the lobby, main stage, booths, and all that. So there's an audience out there. We will be one of our team members will be putting the link in the chat there also. But just to make sure that everybody has heard it, it's again www.sahilmehta.com, and it's SAAHILMEHTA, sahilmehta.com/success-audit, right? And as it says, it's your success audit. It will be something which you should definitely do audit yourself, and you might be gaining some very interesting insights. Be ready for a very uncomfortable conversation with yourself. And anybody has a question for Sahil, this is a good time to ask. You can raise your hand and I can bring you up on the screen to ask the question. Well, no hands raised. So I think people have had a good dose of a very, how do I say, wake up call. Yes. So it's a wake up call. Great. Thank you, Sahil, for joining us today. It was great having you here and deliver a very different conversation from what we have been focusing on all through our Pitch Expo Launchpad event. Most of the conversations, yes, have been around capital movement, innovation, challenges for startups and founders. Today being Founders Day, yes, it was a lot of questions again on how do you get investments, how do you do your GTM strategy, and how do you tackle innovation. But yes, the inner chat is still there. And thank you once again, Sahil, for putting a spotlight on that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hemant,
Any last words, Sahil?
yes, I would like to leave the audience with a one point and a story. So I'm an investor myself. I
Sure.
invest in startups and I've invested in quite a few over the last decade. And I think a lot of people spoke, I saw some of the panelists, they spoke about this. I don't owe the idea. I mean, most people who come to me come generally with a good idea. I invest in the founder. That for me is the number one point. And if I see a founder who I don't feel is connected to their true self. If they are doing something, but their health is struggling, their family is struggling, because I really try to get to know them at a personal level, I don't invest no matter how good the idea is. So I always tell people that I work with, and especially in the founder community, when you are clear on your definition of success and you start living it day by day, you resonant. You become so resonant, you're shining. And that is seen by the people who you're looking to hire, who you're looking to get on your team, who you're looking to put money into your company. And that's what puts you above the rest. So even when you look at it from just a raising money or going to market strategy, whatever it is, whoever you attract will depend on your energy levels. And when you are more resonant, you're going to attract exactly the energy that you need in order to succeed. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you with one story. And the story goes like this. There's a sailor who goes up to the captain and says, "Captain, Captain, can I please get my pay today?" And the captain said, it was because it was the end of the month. And the captain says, "Sure, come tomorrow." So the sailor goes to bed, all excited about the next day, about how he's going to spend his money based on the money he'll receive. Next morning, all jolly, all excited, goes up to the captain and says, "Captain, can I get my pay today?" And the captain looks at him and goes, "Hey, didn't I tell you come tomorrow?" So you see, folks, tomorrow never comes. You've learned many things from this session and from all the other panels and wonderful things throughout this entire series. Whatever you've learned, don't wait to apply it for another day or tomorrow. Start applying it today. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sahil. That was pretty awesome. Tomorrow never comes. Yes, that's the truth. And yes,